First up, I would like to thank Boman Irani sir and Mr. Parsuraman, Mr. VT Joseph, Sami, and Mr. Bhimaraya Maitri, I think, for the wonderful speech. Boman Irani sir, my mother is a big fan of yours. She keeps watching Three Idiots every second day. That's one way to get over the pandemic. And I must tell you, sir, storytelling is what you are so good at, and you're so inspirational and so motivational. And your story resonated with everyone out here, including my dog, whose name is Sunshine. So, sir, we love you for your spirit. I think you're a wonderful person in more ways than one. Now, to everybody who's here in this very interesting Zoom call, I'm talking about students, teachers, academics, media. We've got some very interesting panelists. We've got actors, actresses. We've got leadership coaches. We've got Sami, who just released his book. We've got a very interesting panel. I would say it's a potpourri of very intellectual and global thought leaders. A warm welcome to all of you. Now, can you all clap for yourselves? Because as performers, we all love any kind of applause. So can you all clap for yourselves? And I would like to introduce the eclectic, versatile, and the very creative panel once again. I'm going to go really fast. First up, I'm going to call on Mr. Boman Irani, Mr. T.R. Parsuraman, Dr. Joseph VG, Mr. Indrajit Lankesh, Professor J. Philip, Farzana Majid, Ashish Balal, the very warm Ashish Balal, Ragini Chandran, Augustus Azaria, Jalal El Nasir, Riaz Basha, Ibrahim Khalil, DJ Ivan, who also completed 28 years as a DJ on 7th of June. And Sami, who just released his book right now as we talk, Mr. Bhimaraya, who spoke very inspirationally a few seconds back. We would also like to thank Brother Simon, Samira Fernandez, of course, and we would also like to thank the International Education Consultancy, IndigoMusic.com, BCIC, EcoSoul, the Indian Express, Catholic Club. Smile and clap because you will be featured in the papers tomorrow. So please clap for them, everybody. All right. All right. I'd like to get on. I would like to get Mr. Augustus on board with us. Augustus, sir, who's from IBM India Limited. Sir, I have a question for you. And if he's there with us, sir, can you unmute yourself? And for the rest, please don't. Let's not take calls in between because that will spoil this entire panel discussion. Once again, for everybody who's listening in, this discussion is gold dust. We're talking about education. We've got some very interesting thought leaders here who are very versatile, very inspirational, very passionate, and I'm using all the adjectives I can. Mr. Augustus, sir, your views on the current education system and where do you feel the need for change?
Thank you, Shekhar. Firstly, good morning to everybody here, and truly delighted to be here, especially among students. Makes me feel very younger. Okay, and current education system. Where are we on the current education system? I have some good things to say. Now, firstly, if you look at our current education system, it served its purpose and it continues to serve. Gosh, are you getting an echo?
No, you're perfectly fine. You're perfectly fine.
No, it's fine.
All right, thank you. So current education system has served its purpose. It continues to serve it. Look at Sundar Pichai, Google, Satya Nadella, Microsoft, Arvind Krishna, now IBM, or closer home, Narayan Murthy and Azim Premji of Wipro, and the list goes on and on. Where did they study? What education system did they follow? They followed our Indian education system. But where did they excel? They excelled because they believed that a college degree is no passport to a job. A college degree does not guarantee your job. So they took on additional skills, went on and also became risk takers, founding organizations and, breaking barriers. All right. So in the new education system, my thoughts on the need for change is to bring in risk, innovation, and skills as the new currency. And learning is a continuum. It doesn't stop. It continues. And I also have to tell you that today's environment, with what has happened with COVID and things like that, it has not put a stop to things. In fact, it has accelerated a lot of stuff and it has brought about a pause, not a stop. or pause for us to introspect from where we are, gain perspective from around, and then see where we can go and change course. That brings me to why we need to have this education system is that with data, there's data all over. And now that it's digital, data is the new oil, which means that educationists, educators, students, we all have to go crowdsource and look for things. And apart from that, you have to see how ready we are. Using data and predictive analytics, you can say whether a person is good at this, is he trending high, trending low? You can make those predictions as a faculty or an educator. You could also look at sentiment analytics to understand whether this person has the right sentiment for learning on that particular day or time, and what is he or she preferring to learn. So learning preferences will happen, okay? And last but not least, is the ethical use of data. Organizations, colleges, institutions need to build ethics and integrity, because with so much of data around, you need to build that into the system so that we use it for ethical purposes. And also, while you are in a fully connected digital environment, anything that goes beyond unacceptable norms will be seen, because you're completely unmasked. When you're on the digital platform, you remove your mask. So which means that all your connections and things like that will come into play and provide clarity as well as referrals in terms of where you should go next. So to quickly summarize, what I see as a change in the system, okay, is transparency, ethics, integrity, data management, and of course, how you use technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think that is very, relevant, very practical, and very futuristic. Thank you so much for that, sir. Bomrirani, sir, I want to come to you. Sir, I was listening to your speech very intently, and so it was all about storytelling, because you were able to inspire us, you were able to make us cry, you were able to make us laugh, you were able to connect with all of us in more ways than one. And sir, that comes to my, so I have a question around this. How relevant is storytelling to education?
Wow.
And somebody's playing music. Can everybody mute themselves?
It's relevant. It's relevant. Yeah. Don't worry about it. No, I think, that's a very interesting question. It is very relevant. Storytelling is relevant to education. I think, what teachers do, they come and stand in front of us and speak for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 45 minutes. Eventually, what are they doing? In many ways, they are actors on a stage. They're all by themselves standing over there, and they're putting something across to you. Now, if you give me a teacher that gives me only facts, then what will happen is that what is it, especially in today's time, what is it that you're telling me? You're telling me, not teaching, that I can't pick up my phone and figure out in minutes. I think teachers have to be wonderful actors. I learned of a new thing called drama therapy in psychology. People are using stories and storytelling and drama to help and heal people with mental illness, mental health. The speeches that we heard today from these wonderful gentlemen, I was so inspired by all of you, sir, is eventually storytelling. You might have all the knowledge in your head, but if I cannot put that out there to the world with a little bit of humanity, and it might be of no use. I feel very proud. Today I'm teaching screenwriting, and screenwriting is something that helps me not only understand how to make movies and tell stories, but I think it improves me and every student of mine as better human beings because of stories. Our grandparents are very, very special to us because of those lovely stories that they told us. My mother is very special to me because every night she would play mother and father to me, and she would take me in her arms and tell me an anecdote, a story about her childhood, about her uncle, and then we read about great people. And more often than not, I am inspired by the people she speaks about from her life, her mama. And I'm saying, I want to be like that. So in everything, I think a story comes into place. It's not just there for entertainment. And everything that I've learned today, uh, whether it's about travel, about great people, about great events, about history, about kindness, has been from the movies. So you find your source of education, but believe me, storytelling will play a great part.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Can we all clap for him, everybody? Come on. I think it's straight from the heart. Ragini, I also want your perspective on this, uh, on storytelling and how relevant it is to education. What's your thought around this?
Yes. So, hi everyone. Thank you for having me here, Shekhar, and thank you, Samira, for having me as part of the panelists. Thank you, Bomin Irani, sir. I think I could relate so well to what you were saying because a little background about me. So, I'm a classical dancer, Kathak dancer, and I've also run my own dance and fitness studio, and I've always been inclined to arts. But that's why I always thought about how what draws me to that. That's because I can connect to it so well. So I've also done my academics, and sir, I could just so relate to what you were saying. I was asked to drop out from maths when I was in the ninth standard. I used to be taken to a separate classroom and say, you sit and do environmental studies here, and everyone else would do maths. And I would look at myself and say, is this all I am? But then it was such a downer for me at some times. And then I got the duffer word too, because you don't know math at all. And then no one would drop it out at ninth, in the ninth standard. So when that started off, that's when I had to say there is something else which is a strong point in me, and that's when I thought dance was my therapy, and that is what has taken me till today. And I was, in fact, one of the first choreographers in my dance school itself, in my school, to teach the entire standards from like say third to 10th. Usually, what the teachers would be doing. So every teacher would call me to class and say, now you choreograph for this batch. So we would have like an annual day or the talent day. They would say, now you do it for this batch. That's when I realized, I say, I don't have to look down. And that's where my storytelling came into place. So I could express myself so much better. And along with that, there's always a point where you think of yourself and say, okay, this is always the arts field, but is that going to fetch me money? Am I going to be able to make money out of this? Is this something that I could, be a stable future? I was thankful always because my parents and my family, after even me being married, everyone has always been supportive to say, you can do this. And that's when, again, my storytelling is helped. Being a Kathak dancer, Kathak itself is Katha, is storytelling. So the whole strength that we have is we can just do this and speak with our eyes. We can just give our face and not even say anything much and say so much through dance. And I think as teachers, being a dance teacher or even being in fitness, sharing an experience is what is most important than giving a knowledge and saying, you know what, this is what I want you to be. Now, when I tell someone and say that, I was a dropout at math, but then today I'm able to show a girl and say, this is what you can also do for yourself. And this is a sharing of an experience. And I think that's what performing arts helps me with. And in the whole line, I'm saying, even after, I also took up a job at Target, and said, no, this is the way of doing life. I'm going to work and do a 9 to 6 job and earn. And that's when I realized I was counting the pegs. Okay, my job profile was counting the number of items on the shelf. So I would count every day and say 1, 2. Okay, so today there are 9. It took me 10 months to realize and see, what am I doing this for? I would rush back to my Kathak class and then go from 7 to 9 p.m. and then dance. And that's when, it would give me that the happy hormones coming out. And that experience, when I share to my students and say, today, it's never about you just giving it in books. Maybe I was still good at academics, but not math. But to say, okay, Ragini, now it's your time to choose. And today, when I have students from the age of 5 to 60. And where we're teaching, and I'm also a part of a dance company called the Abhinava Dance Company. And we perform all over. And the special feeling it gives me when I'm able to reach out to people who have no background with classical art. But when I give them a small little story about how Natkhat Krishna was, or how, Krishna and Radhe play. And then, the whole concept of Zoom was actually lot ages ago, where, a letter would come in, and then they would come and they would picturize the hero talking to them. Today we call it Zoom. Long back. So the way we could relate to it is, this is how it helps. So as a teacher, always understand or empathize with your student and say what is running in her head. Maybe it's not this field, maybe it's the artistic side of you. And the way you will see your student progress or transform, is that itself is an achievement for a teacher. And that itself is our learning. That's what I have seen in my journey till now, where I'm able to learn so much from the student. As sir also mentioned, that when she could, the special child you were talking about, sir, who could inspire a teacher to say, no, this is the way you should be going to. I have had a lot of experiences the same way. So I think storytelling is actually experiences sharing, and in any field, in fact. So that is the way to go to now. And for in the current times, especially keeping the digital platform, if I'm going to be telling my students, say, okay, now this is what happened at this time, no, this is what the history teacher would say, I'm sure our students are going to go like. So we need to have a way, even digitally, on how we could reach out to our students the most. Because today I know, when I'm able to teach about, say, 25 students in one batch a dance routine, can you imagine the number of, like, internet lags or the way it could go? But you need to know how to reach out to them. So literally I give them homeworks and say, okay, I've taught you this step for today. Tomorrow you're going to be showing this with your mummy and papa to me. So it's not like just, so literally I have this step and I have a tutting style that the father and the child do together and show me. So it's a kind of a bonding that they do, and not just a responsibility saying, okay, I'm sending you to learn something. So that kind of a bond is what I've been able to create with sharing experience, and that's with storytelling.
Thanks, Ragini. I think you showed us some new dance moves also, and I
Thank
think
you.
her movie is also streaming on the OTT platform. If you don't get a chance, please watch Law, everybody. I think it's wonderful. Thanks once again, Ragini. I would like to move on to Mr. Ashish Balal. Ashish sir, he's a former Indian hockey captain, Asia gold medalist, and the only Olympian I know. So can we all clap for him first of all? I think he's an Olympian. That itself is a big deal, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
he's a very warm, very genuine, and a very tall man. So you should not mess with him at all. So I have a question for you. How do you prepare for uncertainty and promote agility and adaptability in today's day and age? The reason I'm asking you this is because you're a sports person, and in the arena of sports, everything is uncertain. Like what we see right now in terms of COVID-19 and the pandemic around us. What do you suggest to everybody out here? What is your piece of advice? How do you think how do you think education can play a role, and how can one prepare for uncertainty in this situation, sir?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. Life itself is full of uncertainties, and you have to live. Starting of my life, I come from a family having four elder brothers, and all of them went on to do engineering and went on to do PhD, and I was the last sibling. Not that great studies, just trying to get the 35 marks to pass every year, and just out of something happens, and you click in sports, you go on, and life has been full of uncertainty. And when it comes to a sportsman's life, it's full of uncertainty. You don't know if you're going to twist an ankle on that day, or you're like 1 year before the Olympics. I was in the top of the things, suddenly broken arm, went through surgery, had to recoup. Am I going to be in the Olympic team or not? So like you just can't live in fear. You cannot make life okay. What is going to happen? Am I going to do this, or am I going to achieve? You got just move on in life. Perseverance is the key to everything, and you got to battle every day as it comes. You set realistic targets on what you want to achieve. You work hard towards your goal, and that goal setting is there. And it's important. You should not be scared of failure, because in life there are going to be more failures than actually reaching your goals, reaching your targets. Because only when you have failure that you learn so much. You convert a lot of negativity into positivity, and just and bide your time. Stop being afraid of failure. So that has been the real key over here. Like when I started off, a South Indian guy going playing hockey, which is a total North Indian sport. Straight away from having idli, dosa, sambar, you go and have. You start the day with roti and dal, which we had never seen in the 80s when we grew up. But we had to adapt ourselves. We have to adapt quickly because you got to go for training. You better eat your roti and dal, and that's all you're going to get. So you have to adapt very quickly. Whether it is training, or you're running for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So the continuing in life, you have to adapt partly. You have to be agile in your mind. You have to take quick decisions, and you should never be double-minded. You take a decision, stand by it. Whether you win or lose, you stand by your decision. All decisions you take in life are not going to be positive ones. You're going to be having failure, but you have to accept the failure and go back to the drawing board and work hard and see that it becomes, you convert that negative into a positive, and that's what we do in sports. And that's what my advice to all the youngsters is: just have goals and don't have the fear in life. You're gonna have a lot of failures in life. Accept it from day one. Yet you are gonna have failures. There's no person on human earth that has not had failures in his life. So just be positive. Take everything positive. Have a strong mind. That your mind is very important. Your communication is important. You need to talk. You need to get people on your side. You need to be positive. You have to have a happy atmosphere. So being that by you being happy, you get a happy atmosphere, and that's what I advise everybody. And just be happy. Thank you for having me over here. That's my bit.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I think this piece of advice is gold dust for everybody who's listening in, watching in, because sports is the greatest metaphor in life, like they all say. And like Ashi Balal sir mentioned, I think failure is the stepping stone for success. If you haven't failed, you haven't succeeded. Period. Now, I want to move on to Farzaneh Majid. Ma'am, is she there with us?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yes. So your Iranian friend. Yeah, Farzaneh Majid, ma'am, I have a question for you. Ma'am, first up, welcome to this very, very interesting webinar. And it's wonderful. It's like a typical Indian wedding where everything is happening and everybody's talking. But ma'am, the question for you is, how can education be an instrument of social change? I think we need to unmute you. 1 minute. Can we unmute her, please?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me? Perfect. Yeah, I was saying the worst nightmare for me would be not to talk, but my husband would be very happy. Yeah, I'd like to start my session with a quote from one of my idols, Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "Education means all-round drawing out of the best in child and man, body, mind, and spirit. As such, education becomes the basis of personality development in all dimensions: moral, mental, and emotional. Literacy in itself is no education." And he also added that education must correspond to the surrounding circumstances, or it is not a healthy growth. I would like to ask people and differentiate between education and what we see in today's or in the past. Is not just memorizing a few facts and figures and then passing tests with high marks, but then when we go to the real world, we're not a good human being. That's how the world around us is changing. We need to accept, and I come from a very similar culture as you, that Our parents expect us to be a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer, or we're a failure. If you want to become a dancer, an actor, an environmentalist, then we haven't succeeded in their eyes. But the world needs all of these people. I'd like to ask, who's fortunate enough to be a parent or to be in the presence of a child? So when we have children, what is the first word that they start asking? Usually they ask why. Why, mommy? Go to bed. Why? Drink milk. Why? Let's do your homework. Why? But we usually are busy. We're preoccupied with something else, and we keep telling them, well, just drink it. Don't ask me too many questions. Just do your homework. Don't ask me too many questions. Go to bed. Don't ask me too many questions. Buckle up your seatbelt. Why? Because I tell you, or because there is a policeman, there is so and so, if you don't drink your milk, I'll take you to the doctors. We never tell them why they should do that. Our child turns 6, 7, they go to school. They're full of questions. They're very inquisitive. They want to know why things are the way, why there are lots of questions in science classes, in maths classes, in literature classes. If we're a good teacher and we want to educate the child, we will answer those whys. But if we are preoccupied just with ticking the boxes to say, oh, I've covered this module, I've taught what they have to do in their exams to get a good mark, I would tell them, don't ask too many questions, because I'm the teacher, I'm standing here, I know more than you. However, we've entered an age that sometimes our students know more than the teachers. So we need to turn this table and allow the students to ask the questions. Our teachers need to become mentors rather than just somebody who's bombarding them with facts and figures and ask them just to memorize. If we want to bring social change to our societies, I would like to recommend that we need to change KSA, knowledge, skill, and attitude, to ask. It has to be attitude, skill, knowledge. Our children need to know why they have to learn. They need to know why they're getting educated, because by being more educated, your critical thinking, your decision making, your analytical skills have been nourished. You won't fall into prey of radicalism, of people who want you as a prey to do what they want you to do. They will be asking why. They will be more democratic. So with that, those are the type of things that we want to nourish and educate our people. Obviously, if they are educated, we know that they would be able to get more higher paid jobs. So they would be taxpayers, they can help in our community, in our governments. But that's what we need to change. And as I said, appreciate the children the way they are, allow them to ask that why do they need to do that? And we don't need to have all doctors or lawyers or engineers to have them included in the society. Inclusion is very, very important, and we have different learning styles, we have different characteristics, and the society needs everything to be a better tomorrow. That's my message. Change KSA to ask for the better society.
Thank you, ma'am. I think, like you mentioned, I think change is only constant, and teachers have a very active role here. I think teachers are not just teachers; they're also influencers. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Now, I'd like to move on to Mr. Riaz Basha, the wonderful Riaz Basha. He's a pioneer in the field of entertainment. And can we unmute him? Is he unmuted? RJ Riaz Basha. Okay, I think we lost him. I would like to also call on Professor Philip. Is Professor Philip there? Professor J. Philip, founder and chairman, Xavier Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship. Is a very respected name in the field of management and entrepreneurship. Can I get Mr. Professor Philip? Is he around? All right. I'd like to also call on DJ Ivan. DJ Ivan, he is one of the oldest hands in Bangalore. If anybody's heard of DJing, it's because of DJ Ivan. Is DJ Ivan there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. DJ Ivan also completed 28 years of DJing on June 7th, if I'm not mistaken. And I had spoken to him yesterday. He said, I will be awake till 4 in the morning. So that speaks about the fact that he's not ODing on Netflix or Amazon. He is out there creating music for all of you. So first up, a DJ like DJ Ivan is very special because he's doing something which he likes and loves, and he's been doing it for the last 28 years. So can we all clap for him, everybody? Because this is what drives people. This is passion at its best, I believe. Now, DJ Ivan, I have a question for you in terms of how do you think music can play an important role here in terms of education?
Music has always been my life, and I finished my BCom, and then in 1992, and I wanted to be a DJ, and nobody knew what a DJ was. So everybody thought, we had to do the regular things. And if you wanted to be a DJ, you needed to be the DJ on the weekends and do a regular job. But I thought differently. I wanted to do it 24/7. And I think I had a lot of courage and a lot of guts to follow my passion when it was something that nobody knew about. And 28 years later, it's evolved into something that we can't even imagine. It's so huge at the moment, the whole industry, the number of people that are into it, music producers, DJs, and everything. And it's a wonderful option for any kid to explore if they were like me, who loved the music and played music as kids, at home, and listened to their fathers and grandfathers' music and whatever. So the opportunity is tremendous, and the potential is also huge at the moment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It goes without saying, everybody, can we all clap for him once again? I think he's very inspirational, and what he does is amazing. He creates music, which is never easy, and it's pure passionate play, like I always say.
Also, I'd like to add, COVID and everything that's happened now, we are going heavily into the virtual side of things. So broadcasting is going to be huge. So, it doesn't stop here. Even though our industry has come to a standstill in terms of what is happening in terms of nightclubs and bars and everything opening, the virtual side of things is really opening up. So we're doing a lot of virtual parties, broadcasts and stuff like that, which is becoming huge. So I think it's really important that if you're inclined musically, they still need to, incorporate it into schools and colleges and teach people how to DJ and produce music and stuff like that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to also call on Samira Fernandez. But before I call on Samira Fernandez, Bomar Irani, sir, so during the entire talk and during the keynote speeches, I think one important point was, I think the best attitude is gratitude. And that's something which is very, very relevant in today's day and age. Because of the pandemic, I think the world has become smaller instead of larger. And because of which we are all talking about education and everything around it. Now, Samira has a special message for you, sir.
Hi, Boman, are you there? Whoops, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just need to tell you that you've really been an inspiration, not just to the students. I have to admit, to the faculty, the teachers, the management, everyone. And, the moment I called you for the first time, you were really amazing, so positive, so open, and very warmly welcomed us with a yes. And I think you've really led by example, something that we all need to learn from and something we will never forget. So there is something I usually do not do, but I'm going to do it today as a special exception. Not to you, but on behalf of everyone else from the whole world, the global learning community. Are you open to that? Yeah. Can you unmute him as well? Can you unmute Bowman? Bowman, can we hear you? I can't.
I am. Can you hear me? I'm unmuted.
Lovely. We can hear you now. So Bowman, first of all, you look wonderful, and thank you for being with us. You're one of the first, special guests who came on board today online, logged in very early. So I really love the timeliness as well. The students have asked me to give you an online flying kiss.
Oh boy!
Yeah, can you believe it? Like so many requests, and I didn't know what to do. But then I said, why not? Because you're anyway very far apart. But I hope you can catch it and keep it in your pocket. Don't let it go in the air. And let
you watch my Ashish. You watch my goalkeeping skills.
Samira, is it only us? All of us can give him a flying kiss.
Of
right?
course, yeah. Okay, hold it. Watch my Ashish. Dekh lena, boss.
Yeah, Ashish and everyone else. So let's treasure it.
Am I right, Ashish? Show me the stance to stop. Yeah. Correct.
So are we supposed to blow the kiss? What is it, Samira?
This is my first time, so I really don't know. So can I request everyone out here from the global community join me, and if we can just give a tight, warm flying kiss to Bowman Irani for all the love, warmth, and everything you've shown us, and you're really a beautiful human being. I should tell you that. So shall we start, Shekhar?
Yeah,
come, hurry up.
Yeah. I just hope my wife doesn't come right now. I think we're blowing flying kisses too. Virtually that too.
Good things take time. Okay, at the count of 3. Ladies, gentlemen, all of you. 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm touched. I'm moved. And that's what all this is about. One last thing I'll say about this pandemic. People have been through wars, plagues, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, much worse. You aren't in such a bad position. Do not feel that we are in a bad space. This too shall pass. And post-lockdown, remember, it won't be just the survival of the fittest. It'll be survival of the purest. Find purity in this time. We have been blessed with time to find and reach into our hearts and find purity. So the survival of the purest is the motto that I put out there. So good luck. Flying kiss back.
Thank you so much, sir.
Every one of you. I got a class in 5 minutes. I got to prepare. So
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. That is very heartfelt. Thank you so much. Thanks, Samira. Now I would like to call on, I'll have to unmute 1 minute. Can I? Yeah. I'd like to call on Mr. RJ Riaz Basha. He's a pioneer in entertainment and he's got a wonderful voice. Hi, Riaz. And
hi, Shekhar. How are you?
Yeah. So I think in the field of entertainment, learning, unlearning, and relearning is the mantra. And it's always been there since time immemorial. And now we are, it's become very cool to talk about it now because pandemic, everything is happening online. People are talking about reskilling, upskilling, and, learning new skills. What is your take? Because you are an inspirational person in your own team. You have also been in the big boss house. So you know what the pandemic feels like in more ways than one. So, Riaz bhai, I want to know from you, what's your message in terms of, learning, unlearning, and relearning?
So I don't know, for some reason, okay, first of all, thank you so much, St. Francis College, Koramangala, for having invited me here among so many eminent personalities. I mean, I can't imagine myself sharing the stage with somebody so awesome like Bowman Irani, Mr. Parashuraman, who is the BCIC president, and so many people, right? So thank you for this honor. And secondly, I feel blessed for once that I'm in the company of these great people, and I'm also here given the opportunity to share some of my story. Okay, so Shekhar, your question, which is what's the relevance of learning, unlearning, and reskilling? Yeah, I mean that's how I would like to put it. In the sphere of things that I do, this is something that's a given. That's a second skin to us. You need to always keep upskilling yourself, or keep innovating rather. So as many of you say, we need to unlearn a few things. I have a slightly different thought process to it. You can never unlearn something, is what I feel. Right? You can, of course, learn something new, but you can never unlearn something, is what I feel. There are experts over here who have different opinions on that. But that said, I tell myself always, innovate, keep innovating yourself, and never settle down for something. And when people ask, "Kab settle ho raha hai?" in our country, means when are you getting married, right? Or "Kab settle ho raha hai professionally," right? But you can never settle yourself down to something. Even if you're a student, you can never settle yourself to accomplishing something. Okay, I relate with DJ Ivan, who is one of the biggest DJs of the Asian subcontinent, and he's done so wonderfully well to everybody. So there was one day when I was standing in front of this nightclub called Spin, which had just opened back in those days. I'm sure DJ Ivan will know this, right? And I saw all these great people like DJ Ivan, DJ Cletus, and so many people going in there. And a lot of people wanted to make an entry into the club. And I said, if I'm going to make an entry to this club, I'm not going to be doing an entry just like anybody else walking in, asking their names to be on the guest list, or just hobnobbing with somebody. I'm going to go there one day and share the stage with these great people. And so I prepared myself to do that. And one day I happened to share the stage with Cletus, and also a couple of events with DJ Ivan, who's such an amazing person himself. But did that stop me from there? Did that tell me that I've accomplished that, I need to stop there? No. So, and then I moved on and branched out on something else. So my passion as a compeer led me to branch out into many other things. For example, I have the passion to sell something. So I used that to my advantage and became a sales anchor. Right. And I did sales anchoring for companies that dealer and distributor needs to increase their revenue in a single evening. I did that. I did that as a wedding host. I did that as a voiceover artist. I did that as a radio jockey. I do that as a webinar expert. I do that as a panel moderator. I do that as a team building expert. There are so many things that you can keep doing by learning new things, by upskilling yourself. And that is something that is omnipresent in what we do in any sphere. You could be anybody you are. You need to just brush your skills up in whatever you're doing. You can't do everything, but you can be the best at what you know to do. Right? So Ragini shared so many things about how she's a storyteller through Kathak, and how she uses that to her advantage. And much before she could discover, a lot of people had discovered that about her. And without her knowing that she's a great choreographer, people seeked her advice on it. And then thereafter, she discovered that is something amazingly well that she can do. Right? I learned from Mr. Parashuraman as well about the A3 concept today. I learned from Mr. Boman Irani about how to find talent, how to learn from somebody even so unassumingly, so unassumingly different from Niloufar. That story of Niloufar, of course, is going to remain with me always. How to appreciate people in a different way, right? So, of course, for the context of your question, unlearning, or learning and relearning, call it whatever you want to, but innovating and constantly upskilling yourself is something that you need to do, and something that I love doing as well. Shekhar? So since Shekhar's wife must have called him right now, which is probably the reason why he's stuck. Okay, there he is. Shekhar's back again now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was just listening to you, and you summarized everything so well. I think I think Riaz Bhai is very inspirational in more ways than one. He's done a lot of work for COVID-19 also, as we talk, and he's somebody who has stayed in the Big Boss house, and he knows what the pandemic is all about. He's a champion in more ways than one. And I think anybody in the field of entertainment is used to this environment where everything changes continuously, just like what this panel discussion is all about. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Appreciate Shekhar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'd like to call on Professor Philip. Is Professor Philip there? Mr. Professor Philip, founder and chairman, Xavier Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship. Is Mr. Professor Philip there? All right. I'll move on to Ibrahim Khalil. Ibrahim.
Hello, Shekhar. How are you?
Hi, Ibrahim. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. So, Ibrahim, before we start, I want to let everybody here know that Ibrahim was all set to become an engineer, and he ended up becoming a coach. who likes to sing songs.
No.
I'm just kidding about that. But Ibrahim, I had spoken to you yesterday, and you told me that it is your gut instinct which allowed you to do what you did, and your support structure, of course. Now, tell me your thoughts around infusing entrepreneurship in this educational curriculum, because what you are is an entrepreneur, because you've got your hands in various pies as we talk. So please tell us about that, and then end it with a song.
First of all, let me thank everyone for being here, and I'm honorable for being invited to such a webinar. It's really a good thing that we're talking about here in the presence of everyone, in terms of parents, teachers, and even students. Let me start by my story. Everyone shared his story, and I'm happy to share mine. I've actually graduated as an engineer in 2008 with a master's degree, and that was influenced by my father. God bless him. He was planning to make me study engineering, because that was a trend. You're a telecom engineer. You have to be a telecom engineer. Technology, blah 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 blah. I was like, okay. So I took this initiative, and I did my master's in telecom engineering. And unfortunately, I did not work in telecom engineering. I worked in various engineering sectors, civil engineering, construction, blah blah blah. But I didn't work in telecom engineering. And I thought to myself, what am I doing? Is this what I want to be? Is this what I'm planning to be in the future? And actually, we researched a lot of things, and I ended up being a coach certified by the International Coaching Federation, ICF. To talk about entrepreneurship is it really needs courage, discipline, accountability, a lot of efforts to become at least what I've become today. And I would like to share something to all the audience, that education is not phase, it's a journey that will never end. I'm always learning anything every day. I'm learning a lot of stuff every day. This is something that will never end. COVID-19 was a shock for everyone. We all, as Mr. Sami said, had to shift one degree to one side, so that we can see the world from a different perspective. Technology is playing a great role, and that helped us to be here today on Zoom. And if there was no Zoom, no technology, I would have come to India, took a ticket, and so technology is playing a really good role. It's changing too much and at a fast pace. We need to cope with that, to change our perspective in education for the new generation to see that change and accept it. That's all what I need to say. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, can we get Professor Philip once again? Professor Philip from XIME, Bangalore.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, very much. So before we start, I have to tell you this. I have a very close friend whose name is Nitish Thomas, and he's conveyed his regards for you. He considers you his mentor, and he was extremely happy to know that I'm moderating this discussion with you, and he passes all his love and wants you to stay strong and healthy.
Yeah, I want to correct the record. I was here from the beginning, but I remain unmuted.
All right, sir. So I have to.
Sorry, remain muted. So I couldn't reach you. Whenever you called me, I was there. So sorry, I couldn't come in.
No problem, sir. Your smile can launch 1,000 ships, sir. That's more important. Yes, sir. So yeah. So we wanted to know from you.
Yeah.
So we wanted to know from you, what is the role of education in the present scenario, with the world becoming smaller and closer because of the pandemic? So what is the role of education right now as an instrument of change?
Okay. How many minutes do I have?
So you have time. Don't worry. You can. Please.
All right. I'll try to answer that.
Yeah.
So, but let me start by saying I'm so happy in this group. When I was looking at everybody who came in, including Mr. Parashuraman, I realized that I must at least be 30 years older, the senior most person in the group. Last month, I completed 60 years of teaching. So you heard me. On July 3, 2020, I completed 60 years of teaching. It was on that day, 60 years ago, I started at XLRI Jamshedpur. The only problem that I have is I have only taught at the postgraduate level, and that too at autonomous institutions, not in the university system. But having said that, let me come to the role of education in this, the new world, and particularly the post-COVID world. Right. I would imagine the basics will remain the same. What many people said, the knowing, the doing, and the being, which is the knowledge, skills, and values, attitudes, they will remain the same. What we are missing, I think, all along has been, in India particularly, the value system did not get the importance that it deserved. And that was, by and large, a kind of failure of most Indian institutions. That needs to be brought back to its rightful place. Now, skill, you don't have to mention the importance of that skill. That's the one which gives you livelihood, really. That's the one which prepares you for the long haul, the 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, or how many years, or 60 years, as I did. Right? How good are we? I remember an incident, since we're talking about schools and colleges. I was there at the first Independence Day, 1947. I was in the 6th standard. So we were all running around like mad little kids, not knowing what's happening. August 14th, 1947, we are becoming Ajadi, but nobody knew what Ajadi was really. But we decided to have a meeting, the school, my school, all of us got together at midnight. And some of us were supposed to speak. And my teacher said, you must speak. I was at the 6th standard. I said, how do I speak? He said, I will help you to speak. So he wrote a speech for me, said, memorize it and deliver it. So 1947, August 14th, the night, I gave my public speech. And when it was all over, there was a thunderous applause. Next morning, the teacher came and said, you made the best speech and you can speak. And that particular skill which he sort of planted in me and encouraged me, took me along. So I had some very interesting that happened in my life. But I'll tell you, I just used one skill, the communication skill, which is so important, which took me at last. I brought it to Bangalore as the director of IIM Bangalore. If somebody asked me, what is it that made you IIM director? I'd say this was one of the things which made me. And the other things several people have said. If you develop the kind of value system which we see, integrity particularly, and empathy. You asked about what is it? Empathy. Yesterday, preparing for my talk, and I couldn't go into all that, I interviewed my 2 grandchildren. One studying in Aditi school here, and one studying in Atlanta, United States. Both are straight A's all through. I asked them, now, what is special about your schooling? Why do you go to school? And the grandchild studying here said, Papa, I love my school. I love to go there. My teachers are really our friends. We're only 20 in the classroom. They are friends. They behave, they treat, they work with us as colleagues, senior colleagues. And the kind of freedom that we have is just unbelievable. Now, my American granddaughter said, Papa, you know, I'm also straight A all through, but I'm not fancy the school very much. The reason being, all teachers are not very exciting. A lot of, she used the expression which I don't want to use. So I feel like studying myself. I spend a lot of time reading and studying myself. I wish we had better teachers. Now, teacher is critical role. And I tell you three things which I would like to see happening in our schools or colleges. Three things I added to all that what we said. One, can we develop what we call this basic trait called curiosity? If a school can develop a child good in curiosity. A second one, a very, very famous study, Harvard University professor David McClelland, psychologist. He was interested in this topic of achievement. Why a country progresses while some others remain behind. For example, America and Brazil. Now Brazil was way behind, America is quite ahead. And both are comparable, natural resources, population, all that kind of thing, white countries, European countries originally, but US is far ahead. And he came to the conclusion, what really matters is achievement orientation. And he said, if a country is populated more with achievement-oriented people, that country will progress. So I come back to this issue. In the school, can we develop this achievement orientation? I must achieve, I must be somebody. That's the role of a teacher. Not hit on the head, but to push the fellow. The experience of mine, I said at my 11th year, I made my public speech because of a teacher. A third one which I would add is the old slogan, make your habits first, and then habits will make you. Make your habits first, and the habits will make you. Can we give at the school level the right kind of habits? And if you have the right kind of habits, I remember I went to XLRI Jamshedpur, but it was late in my years, a Jesuit school, Jesuit business school. That's where I grew up as a professional. Now I developed some habits there in Jamshedpur when I was an young faculty member. It keeps going. And I look back and say, thanks to the Jesuits that I developed these habits, which made me somebody in my profession. And so there are three things which I add here to all that you said. School, college, curiosity, achievement orientation, right kind of habits. Thank you very much. I live very close to Koramangala, St. Francis College. I'm almost a neighbor. So it's a pleasure to participate in this dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the priceless words of wisdom in terms of curiosity, achievement, and everything else which you mentioned. It goes without saying that we are extremely honored and privileged with your presence. Can we all clap for sir once again, everybody? Come on. I think he's very soft-spoken and he's got a wonderful smile. I would like to call on Mr. Jalil El Nasir, Regional Manager, UTS InSearch University, Sydney, Australia. Mr. Jalal. Is Mr. Jalal there? All right. So, yeah, I've got one more question for the wonderful Riaz Basha. I'll unmute him once again.
Yeah,
So,
Shekhar.
Riaz, in the work which we do in terms of entertainment, I think storytelling plays a very important role. We got a perspective from Mr. Bominadani, from Ragini. I wanted to get your perspective in terms of how relevant is storytelling, because storytelling is there in all forms, right? Music, everything what we do. How relevant is storytelling right now in the current scheme of things in terms of education?
Okay. Now, storytelling, Shekhar, I mean, storytelling is an absolute must for everybody. It's one of the oldest forms of teaching, is what I believe. It bonded the early human communities, giving the children to answer to the biggest questions of whether it is about creation, life, afterlife, and so many things. Because stories really define us. They kind of shape us, they control us, and they also make us in certain ways, right? So, now, also there is not every human culture in the world is literate, but I feel that every single culture says stories, tells stories. That's how important it is, right? You could be from any part of the world. Your culture says stories. Your grandparents tell you stories. Your parents tell you stories. And there are stories that make you, right? And anytime, even if it's a speech on stage, if you start with something like, once upon a time, there lived, you will have every member in the audience turn their attention towards you, even if they're busy on their smartphones. That's how important storytelling is. And let's also speak about the advertisements, the TV commercials or the radio commercials that we hear today, okay? The advertiser tries to pack in a story within those 60 seconds to capture the imagination of the audience so they can sell their product better. Point in case, when I was a kid, I grew up listening to this, watching this ad that said, "Jab main chota bachcha tha, badi shararat karta tha, meri chori pakdi jati, ting ding 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 ding. Jab roshan hua, Bajaj." Correct, right? So many of you got the name of the brand right. So, and the story that the advertiser tried to pack in that was, when I was a kid, I used to do a lot of mischief, and I used to get caught doing the mischief because of the turning of the bulb by Bajaj, the bulb by Bajaj. The brand remained, right? So when there's storytelling in the movies, why not education system? Right? Because this is something that needs to be seriously looked at. There is a lot of theory, there's a lot of practicals, there's a lot of things that happen in education system. If it is same thing is said in the form of a story, it'll register a lot more in the minds of the students, and they'll go back remembering every one of the thesis, theory, and everything far better, and they will make a greater impact, is what I feel. Because I also believe that as an educational institution, as a college, you are the biggest library of stories. And I'm not even talking about the books in the actual library. I'm talking about the human library with stories in each of the students waiting to be heard. So as educationists, as teachers, as stakeholders of an educational institution, there's a huge opportunity to script a super hit story in that student. And that is why storytelling, I feel, is extremely relevant, is extremely important in these times, especially now after what we've gone through. So everybody can go ahead and make a story of their own. That's what I believe in, Shekhar.
Thank you so much, Riaz. You made it so clear and so sharp and so precise, just like the Aryan that you are. And I'm guessing you're an Aryan, right? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And, now we have come to the end of this very interesting discussion. We try to get all the panelists to come in and speak. And for everybody who's listened in, the teachers, the students, the thought leaders, the people from the media, I think my mom is also watching this. For everybody who's listening to this, I think thank you so much. But before we go, I'd like to thank all the panelists, the eclectic, versatile, and the creative panel which we have. Let's hear it once again for Mr. Bominadani, Mr. T.R. Parsuraman, Dr. Joseph VG, Indrajit Lankesh, Professor J. Philip, Farzane Majid, Mr. Ashish Balal, Ragini Chandran, Augustus Azaria, Mr. Jalal, Mr. Sami, who's launched his book today also, and Mr. Ibrahim Khalil, EJ Ivan, Mr. Bhimaraya, and Brother Simon, Samira Fernandez, and once again, let's also hear it for the International Education Consultancy, indigomusic.com, BCIC, EcoSoul, the Indian Express, Catholic Club.